Well, hi everyone. Welcome back to The Abled Gardener. And it's been at least 2 or 3 weeks since I've made a video, so I wanted to give you guys a quick update on what's been going on in the garden and with my bees since I made my last video on changing my garden boxes into wicking beds. So basically, I was going to start with just 3 beds this spring, change those, and then do the rest this fall when I had more time. But well, because I wanted to get a lot of things planted, so I didn't want it to take a long time. I ended up not turning 3 into wicking beds, but actually 5 of my beds into wicking beds. So that's been done. I'll show you that in a minute. And now they've gotten planted. So my gardening season this year is, well, it's just starting a little bit late because of transforming those garden beds. Let me show you around the garden a little bit, maybe take a quick trip to the front yard where I had changed my front yard last year from a lawn into not a vegetable garden, but a flower garden. So I took out my whole lawn, replaced it with wood chips, and then a lot of perennial and drought tolerant plants. If you didn't see that video where I changed my front yard into a flower garden, what I'll do is I'll just put a little link somewhere here on the screen as to that video, and you can see where I transformed the front yard. But let me get on with, I'll go over and just grab the camera and show you around the garden. My garden bed over by the chickens, I decided to try my hand at growing tomatillos. I don't think it's going to be very hard. Probably a lot like growing tomatoes from what I understand. I've just never grown them before or even eaten them. So this is going to be fun to try something new. I think I've got probably about 10 plants here planted in the garden bed by the chickens. And then in the long garden box, this box is nothing new. I didn't change it over into a wicking bed because I do have lettuce, Swiss chard, and peas in this bed. So this one wasn't changed. The lettuce I planted in January, the peas probably in December, and we're getting a lot of salads out of this garden bed. And in one of the first wicking beds that I made, this 2x8 bed down on the end, I've got melons and cucumbers planted. I believe it's probably about 3 or 4 different kinds of cucumbers. Apple cucumbers, lemon, regular straight 8 cucumbers, and pickling. Down here on the other 2x8 bed, I've got Swiss chard planted in the front, and these were transplants. I had started in the house back in November or December, and then brought them out, transplanted them into this bed, and that's why even though it's a new wicking bed, they look so large is because they were in another bed and I put them over here. Another plant that I'm trying out this year, and if any of you guys have any hints or tips on growing jicama, then let me get down here and show you. This is a little jicama plant that I started, and I believe I do have 5 or 6 of them in this bed. So like I said, if you've grown jicama before, you have any hints or tips for me, please post them down below because I've never grown this plant before. And over in the next 4x8 wicking bed, I believe you guys saw this one on my last video, I just have yellow zucchini squash, and I think also green zucchini squash planted in this bed, and some Swiss chard transplants along this side. And over in the end bed, I've got 4 different kinds of tomato plants. I'm just going to try 4 different kinds in my garden this year, and that will be more than enough tomatoes for us. And what I did was put 2 of the construction mesh panels up against the fence long ways. So as the tomato plants grow, I'll attach them to the trellis and they can grow up and over the fence and just keep growing because they are indeterminate tomatoes, all 4 of them. And as I mentioned before, the boxes that I changed into wicking beds, they have just been recently planted, and that's why none of my plants are very large right now. So this next bed is all peppers, probably, I don't know, probably at least 10 to 12 different peppers, and then in between the peppers in rows, I'm going to do a quick crop of radishes, and they haven't come up yet. They are planted, but they haven't popped out yet. And then down in my nursery, it just have a lot of vegetables that need to grow a little bit, just a little bit bigger before I get them in the ground. So that's my nursery going on. In the next bed, I have almost entirely sweet red onions. I got the seeds from a neighbor of mine, and I didn't plant too many. We don't eat a lot of onions here, but we do like onions on our hamburgers, so these guys came up quick and they've been growing really well. I can't wait to have a sweet red onion. And in my in-garden box, this had a plastic hoop house on it. And I had cabbage, tatsoi, spinach, and Swiss chard in this bed. As soon as the sun came out this spring and it started getting warmer, everything went to seed except the Swiss chard. So still have some of that down here on the end, and then Roma tomatoes down on the edge here, which I'll also grow over a construction mesh as soon as I get one up there. The rest of the bed, I don't know what I'm going to plant in here, but I'll get something planted. So let's go over to the perennial garden. I'll show you the flowers that have come up there, and then we'll head to the front yard. Well, as you guys can probably see from that distance, I have pretty much a lavender flower garden. So I've got a lot of irises blooming right now. I've got borage everywhere. Borage just reseeds itself pretty prolifically. And down on the bottom, I've got a lot of clover coming up for the bees, and a lot of different flowers that I started inside. So those plants or those flowers that I started are only just little tiny transplants. It seems like, well, it takes a pretty long time to start flowers inside and get them to a size to bring outside and put in the yard. So I'll probably be going to my nursery, getting some more well-established flowers, and maybe a little bit different color to go in with the lavender and put in the perennial garden. Well, I wanted to give you guys another look at the front yard since I changed it last year from total lawn into a more drought-tolerant front and side yard. A rebate program that the state of California was having, and maybe still is having, if you took out your lawn and put in more drought-tolerant plants and trees, different shrubs and flowers, they would give you a rebate of up to $2 a square foot, maxing out at $2,000. So if you guys had seen that video, this is just a quick update of what the front and side yard are, what they're looking like now. The trees I had put in here in the front yard, they have really started growing, and they're supposed to be fast growing. I believe it's thuja or thuja trees, and they are extremely fast growing. I think they've grown about 3 or 4 feet. And I still have 2 of my 3 rhubarb plants. One of them died, and I believe it's because I have them on this drip system. And rhubarb they like to have more well-draining soil and not have their roots sitting in water. So I think that's why one of them just pretty much rotted. The borage got planted up here last year, and the borage just never dies. It just keeps growing and growing, and it just reseeds itself, just like in the backyard. It's prolific. The figs that I had put in last spring are doing really well. They just recently leafed out, and the other fig that I put in over by the house, as soon as it started leafing out, it got this little fig on it right away. Just one fig, so I hope it gets a few more. I hope it has a few more this summer because I really like figs. Then going around to the side yard, as you can probably tell, the borage has really taken over up here and growing about 2.5 to 3 feet tall. It's hiding out a lot of the shrubs, or a lot of the perennial shrubs that I put in, the perennial shrubs and grasses. Underneath my maple tree, I've got a lot of daylilies that I transplanted here from the backyard, from the garden area, so I could have more garden, and then I could have more flowers up here. A lot of forget-me-not, more mint, quite a few lavender that I'd put in, some yellow snapdragons, more large leaf sorrel, and some drought-tolerant grasses. And my really large pampas grass just did extremely well. It was just beautiful last summer, so I'll give you guys a picture of it again this next summer after it puts on the shoots with the fronds. I've got quite a few butterfly bushes that I put up front. I had started these last year from just softwood cuttings. They're so easy to grow, and after I started them, I got them up here in the front yard, and they're doing really well. I hope they bloom this summer. And then just ending with the rest of the side yard. Most of these flowers and shrubs I've been putting in this spring. Some of them, like the daisy and the different grasses, were in last summer. And that's it for the rest of the side yard. I've got a couple of trees that I put in back here, but I'm adding shrubs and flowers as I go along and as I can afford it. So let's go on back, and I'll hopefully give you guys a short bee update. Well, everyone, I promised you a bee update, but what I think I'll be doing is cutting this video short because I've got quite a few things that I'd like to explain about what I'm doing with the bees. So like I said, I'll cut this video short, and my next video will be my bee update. So thanks for joining me today, you guys, just seeing what's going on in my garden, what I've been doing for the past 2 or 3 weeks. And I'll be talking to you guys soon. Take care, everyone. God bless. Bye-bye.